Hello, this is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight podcast. Today I'm all on my own. I don't have any guests or anything, so I'm just going to be chit-chatting with you, and I'm gonna be quite chill. I'm not going to make it too heavy and loaded with info, just like a nice chat, albeit a bit one-sided on my part. But anyways, and I'm a bit hoarse today because I just went for lovely country walk to get some freckles and endorphins, and there was a big scary dog, and I'm not great with big scary dogs, so I absolutely shouted and roared at him and nearly burst a lung, I think, shouting and roaring at him. But anyways, I got out alive, and now I'm a bit hoarse, so that's the reason for that. So today what I thought I would do is, if you follow me on Instagram at happyweight.ie, you'll notice that I post around 2 little reminders every single day, every morning, just to kind of get in the right headspace for becoming the weight you want to be and having the relationship you want with food. And I actually make a ton of them. I have to use a lot of self-discipline to only post 2 because I know I'd be boring the bejesus out of people. So I actually have loads of them. So I'm going to just do a random pick of some of them on my phone today and chat through. And I think they'll really help you. Like the whole point of this podcast is for people who were in or are in the same position as me that I was in. So that would be someone who is always dieting and always trying to lose weight, and kind of an interest in nutrition, mainly because they want to lose weight, and stuff hasn't been working. Maybe it's veered into bulimia, maybe it's veered into binge eating or overeating. So everything I'm covering on my podcast is kind of if you're in that zone. And also, probably like I've said in other episodes, I'm not about to talk you out of being a lighter weight or being a healthier weight if you want to be that. I'm not saying ridiculously outside of the BMI underweight or anything like that, but I'm saying if you do have excess weight and you've had a pretty difficult time with food, if you're always thinking about food and you're always obsessing about calories and stuff, of course that can change, and of course that will make changes to your body as well once your mindset changes. So that's something I'm quite passionate about in terms of us being happy with where we are, and developing a really good relationship with our body, but also not being scared of dreaming big. I just kind of think that it's pretty important to dream big. I think that's the whole thing that fuels life. And it actually kind of makes me a little bit annoyed sometimes. I did a course before, and we had to have a funeral for the idea that we would ever have, a body or a weight that we liked. And that makes me so sad and angry looking back on it, because at the time I did have binge eating disorder. So at the time I had a lot of lonely, sad nights where I was eating a huge amount and I was waking up feeling very gross and heavy and full. And for someone to tell you that you are always going to have that, for someone to tell you that don't you dare dream of ever getting rid of, what sustains your excess weight, which was those behaviors. I'm that's ridiculously bad, especially in a kind of day and age where, especially with women, we want to be told to go for your dreams and have everything you want. So that's tangent number 1 of possibly 2000 today. But okay, so I'm going to get going. I'm going to open my phone, and I am going to see the first little one of those reminders that I post every day. So the first one is that when we have a weight problem, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of oh my God, I just want to get this weight off me. I just want to just be there already. I just want to have a weight that I want, or be in a body that I like, or whatever. And, it's a lot of kind of, just impatience and urgency and all of that. And the thing is that if other areas of your life are going quite well, say I don't know, say your career has gone okay, or your relationships, or you've got a partner, if you've got kids or whatever, we don't really use that entitled approach to anything else. So basically what we're saying there is the equivalent of, if you give me €1 million, I'll show you that I'm a good millionaire. And it's No, a lot of millionaires, especially rags to riches people, got to be millionaires because they developed a certain attitude and relationship with money. Equally, if you got out of college and you joined a company and the seniors there were all kind of on average 10 or 15 years working their way up the ladder, and you got into your position first day out of college and you were like, nope, I'm not going to do any work until you make me a senior. When you make me a senior, I will show you that I am a good worker, but I'm not going to do any work until you give me that position. It's like you would obviously never, ever be that because, as you're working up the ladder, you are learning stuff and you were experiencing stuff and you were learning how to react differently than how you reacted when you were a junior in your career. So, if you were like a junior just out of college and you were given like a top CEO position, excuse the crow next to me, you would crash and burn in that senior position like within a week. So it's the same if we've got our current like absolutely chaotic mindset of like, geez, what am I meant to eat? Like, am I restricting? Am I being good? Am I being bad? Like, how gross am I? How fat am I? Like, how many negatives can I find about my body? If we're doing all of that and then suddenly, we had a magic wand and tomorrow we were our ideal weight, we'd ruin it basically. We'd absolutely ruin it. It would be gone again in a week because it's, I kind of actually think over the years now of working with people that it's the ideal system. As we let go of an eating disorder and the resulting weight that came along with it, by the time all that weight is gone, we've learned all the lessons, because I really think I might have said this in other episodes that it's how we react to things that is going to be different when we don't have a weight problem and when we have a different body, because it's like there's still going to be nights where you drink a load. There's still going to be nights where, like, with your family and with your friends, you absolutely eat a ton and you come home feeling super full. But it will be your reaction that will be different, because when we've got a weight problem, we make this really personal and we also make it like a big catastrophe and we give it like a lot of meaning. And what's that Shakespeare quote that like nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to eat a load of food, like with your family or friends. It's not as if you're the only person on the planet who is overeating in that moment or who has ever overeaten. So that's not the problem. It's how we think about it. So if we're kind of like, oh my God, you promised yourself you were going to be good this week and you promised yourself you weren't going to eat that much again. And like, oh my God, you're disgusting. No one eats that much. And, you've ruined the good phase now. You're officially in a bad phase. So you might as well keep going and keep eating because, you're not worth it anyway. Who are you kidding, thinking you're going to lose weight or ever be your ideal weight? And we go on with all that rubbish. And then, like, meanwhile, someone without a weight problem or who wouldn't have a weight problem might have a bit more of a reaction like, geez, last night was mad, wasn't it? God, I'm full as a frog, so full. Anyways, and there might be a little bit of more of a kind of a focus on the physical rather than the mental, because when we've got a weight problem, we're all like, what does this mean about me? What does this mean about my future, my weight? What does this mean about what I should eat today or tomorrow or whatever? Whereas when we don't have a weight problem, we're just kind of thinking that like, I feel heavy, or like, geez, okay, I'm done with cheese now, like for the morning anyways, like, and we just want to take action in making ourselves feel like, let that food wear off, basically. Like, as in, like, if our body has a bit of a backlog, if it's still like clearly digesting all the food from last night, we're still feeling full, there's still an absence of hunger, like, we just let that, happen. We just let our body, like, give it the time it needs to digest that food, and then we'll give it what it needs next time, give it what it tastes nice and what will make it feel nice. So there's no judgment, and it's got nothing to do with the past or the future or who you are, your ability to lose weight. And so, yeah, it's those kind of reactions that will be different as we're becoming our ideal weight. And I think as we're letting go of an eating disorder, Oh my God, the universe is going to test you. Like, you are going to be tested a million times, and it's about passing these tests. So it'll be like there's all the evidence to be down on yourself. There's all the evidence to not believe in yourself. There's all the evidence there to say, who are you kidding? You're not progressing. You'll never progress. And so this is the thought that has dominated your weight and eating for years, and now you choose to not believe it. So you choose to react differently. And no matter how compelling it is, like no matter what has gone on, no matter how much you have eaten, no matter what weight you've gained or how tight your clothes are, you still refuse to believe it like you used to believe it. And so obviously by mastering that skill, when you're maintaining a weight, then say for instance like at Christmas or in holidays or any kind of a day where we're overeating by ourselves or with other people, we will never, ever, ever be pulled into that fear reaction again. We will never, ever be pulled back into the like, who am I kidding? I should just give up on myself, because we have now practiced 1,000 times to not give up on ourselves. So we will earn a kind of a different kind of looking body or a different kind of health or whatever, by how we're changing our mindset and how we're kind of like getting skilled, getting experienced. Even little things like, you know, shit happens at work or something, and normally this would mean X, Y, and Z. And now we take a more compassionate approach and we're like, God love you. Like, this is a really, really, really tough week. Like, I think you deserve to feel nice. Like, I don't think you deserve to feel gross. I don't think keeping like Doritos happy is you know going to be your solution here so you can feel less stressed. Like, I don't think buying their products and keeping them, you know, wealthy is what's going to ultimately make you feel nicer this evening. So, you know, we just kind of treat ourselves differently in old scenarios that have come up a lot. So yeah, so that is the first thing I found on my phone. And let's see what else. What have we got? Okay, you know what? This is quite a big one that I don't think any of us like fully stop and appreciate, right? Because like if you've grown up with in a family where say your mom and dad were dieting, there was general like health concerns, maybe there was a lot of like, well, I suppose every parent has to do a little bit of don't eat those foods and finish your plate. But you know what I mean? Like an extreme amount of kind of control or fear of bad foods and all of that. So if we've grown up in all of that, and I would like to add in maybe you're a woman, you know, it's just always been the case. Like, you're trying to lose weight. You always have been trying to lose weight. Everyone you know is trying to lose weight. And like, we're just like hamsters on a wheel. Like we're like, like you lose weight because like you try to lose weight because that's what everyone does. You should be trying to get slimmer. And at a certain point, we have to stop and we have to ask ourselves, am I trying to lose weight because I should lose weight? Am I trying to lose weight because my mother has been on about it for years? I think my partner would rather it. I think my family would be less stressed about my health. You know, my friends, my doctor, society, clothes shops, I think, you know, they all want me to lose weight. And like, that could be actually what's underlying, and all you're trying is that's what you're doing it all for, you know, or even your health or whatever. But that's a very, very different kind of goal. Then you're so in love with the goal. You're so in love with the goal. So I'll just read out the little thing that I have for Instagram is, figure out, are you trying to lose weight because you should, quote unquote? Your mother, your partner, your family, your friends, your doctor, your society are just expecting you to lose weight, so that's why you're doing it? Or do you want to lose weight because you are so in love and so excited about living your life at a different size with a different way of eating and a different way of treating your body? Because if it's a should, like I should lose weight, that's not going to be enough energy for you to change, because love is what creates the pulling energy that makes you work or makes you make little changes. It's love is the pulling force. And I don't know why I'm reading this out now. It makes me think of like, you know, couples who go through IVF. like, I doubt any couples are like, I don't think there's many that would go through like many rounds of IVF because they think a woman and a man should have a baby. I think probably a lot of people who would go through all of that is because the sheer love of the idea of having a little bambino, like they're like just enamored with that idea, so they're going to pay the money, take the injections, and it's not actually, maybe it's going to be worth it, or maybe lots of people who've gone through that would say it's worth it. It's also maybe the same with like, say a newborn baby or something. By all accounts, they're a lot of work, but because you really love the baby, getting up at 2 a.m. to give it a bottle or something, you'll get over it because you really love the baby. So it's amazing what we can do when we love something. Like it's amazing how much work or effort or change or whatever we can do when we love something. And the thing is that, like I said, a lot of people are like, oh, like I just suppose I should be like size 12, shouldn't I? And I should be a healthy BMI. And it's like, that's not a juicy, sexy enough reason to change. Like that's not going to like encourage you to act differently. That's not going to make you want to change your life. So it would actually be more like, I'm so excited to be, a kind of person that, like, someone says, are we going to the beach? And I'm like, hell yeah, we're going to the beach, and can just put on my togs and not be body conscious and just run on the beach. And like, that might be a silly example, but I'm just kind of saying that if we're so in love with the life that we're going to get from losing weight, it also gives us, like I said, a lot of energy to complete the goal, but it also gives us a very, very clear roadmap. Because, like, if we're kind of like, okay, I'm so in love with losing weight because it's going to allow me to be like this confident person that like doesn't put life on hold and signs up to like drama groups. If I want to sign up to a drama group or learning surfing or whatever, I just like jump straight in there and do all that stuff. And like, okay, now I am going on a tangent, but like the things that we think we will do when we lose weight are actually the things that you need to do to lose weight. So when we become very clear on, I love my goal because it will allow me to do this, this, and this. Well, actually, this, and this are the things that we have to be doing today if we are serious about getting to the weight we want to be. So I would actually take out like a piece of pen and maybe take out a whole pen, like a pen that works. So like take a pen and paper and like write out how becoming your ideal weight would benefit everyone and everything in your life. And I know that sounds like a stretch, but like we really have to spoon feed our subconscious mind, right? Because our subconscious mind is in charge of 95% of our little behaviors and choices during the day. Like most of the time we're in our head thinking about stuff, and we're doing stuff, and we're eating stuff, or we're not moving, or we're moving and we're not even thinking about it. It's our subconscious mind that is running that programming. So we have to give a very clear kind of roadmap to our subconscious mind, like that really advertises the person we're becoming. So it's kind of like, oh my God, do you know, like being slimmer will mean like having to, like going to bed every night feeling comfortable, like never having to put up with, or rarely having to put up with, like, going to bed feeling super full or guilty or anything like that. Like, so being slim will mean like going to bed feeling nice and waking up in the morning feeling nice. And it will mean that like, you go on holidays at the drop of a hat, or it could improve that relationship with that person because you won't be self-conscious anymore. Or say even your drinking friends or your eating friends, you'll actually be more open to being present on those evenings and really enjoying the foods that suit you, rather than either being on famine mode or feast mode. So I would put together all of the reasons why like it just so suits you. Like as you're becoming your ideal weight, the kind of person you would have to become in order to achieve your ideal weight, which, by the way, I feel like I need to put a disclaimer every time I'm saying your ideal weight. I also, to be honest, mean an ideal persona with food. So someone who's cool, calm, collected with food, has a very positive relationship with food and with their body. So therefore, the graw or the need to like stuff ourselves or starve ourselves or restrict ourselves or binge or any of the things that cause weight problems, they're just no longer appealing because we're having such a fun time otherwise. So I would really do your best to personalize your goal. And I go on about this a lot with clients as well, actually, because I suppose my personal story was like, I don't know, I knew a lot of slim people that gave being slim a bad name. Like a lot of them that like, you know, ran every day. I'm not into running, probably would never sign up for exercising a lot or exercising every day. You know, if it happens, cool, but I'm not going to commit to it. And being boring, being rigid, not being like passionate, not like loving their grub, actually being the opposite, being like bitter and controlled and kind of like, you know, like women who've lost their juice really, you know, they've like just dried up and controlling and ugh, like, I don't know, that sounds very derogatory or something, but I'm not talking about anyone specific, but I just knew that I would absolutely rather be overweight and have binge eating disorder than be someone who exercises every day, who never gets takeaways with their family, who is controlling with food, who's always on a diet. Like, oh my God, kill me now. I would way rather be overweight than be any of those things. So you have to make sure that there are no blocks, like that you don't have this like negative idea of you as a lighter person, because if you do have a negative view of who you'd have to become or what you'd have to do, and those things don't really fit in with who you are or your personality. Yet again, your subconscious mind responsible for 95% of your behaviors, but also responsible for like protecting you and protecting your identity. It is not going to ever let you lose weight, because if losing weight means becoming boring or rigid, or super organized, and you don't relate to those personality traits, your subconscious mind is going to block you at all costs from ever losing weight. So you might lose weight for a short time, but you'll always put it back on or something like that. So yeah, so that's another little one there. And you know what? That kind of reminded me of something else as well, that like it's kind of on the same topic, but you know, if you don't want to lose weight, that's really cool. That's like, it's really, really, really not a problem. Like, you could live your entire life exactly at this weight, not a pound down, not a pound up, and you could make it work. Like, you could have an awesome time. You could still achieve all your other goals. You could still be happy every day. Like, there's nothing that weight can really stop you doing, unless it's like extreme weight or something like that. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine. And then if you do want to do it, well then, like I said, really fall in love with the plan. So, I mean, your plan or your goal. So I always think, because sometimes I learn a lot like on reflection of calls with my clients. And I just kind of think of this one maybe a year or 2 years ago. And I was kind of like, I don't know, like sometimes I felt like I was coming on calls and convincing my client that, you know, they could change. And like then I was thinking about it, and I was kind of like, if I was a mortgage broker or something and someone rang me up and they were like, I don't believe in buying houses. I think the best way to go forward is to rent houses, like to rent your place, rent long term. Like, I don't really think it's a good idea to buy a house, and I don't believe it's a good idea to have a mortgage. Well, then it'd be like, okay, cool, don't call me then. I'm a mortgage broker. And it can be the little bit the same with our weight, because I know for me anyway, there was a little bit of like, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to read your one's book. I'm going to do it. And then she better prove to me that I can lose weight. Do you know? And it's kind of like, I'll be watching the scales. I'll be watching my clothes. I'll be having chats with friends. And I expect everything and everyone else to verify that it is possible for me to lose weight. And it's kind of like, God, that's so in reverse, because, you know, your behaviors are all coming from your beliefs. You know, your beliefs is your subconscious mind. So if you believe that I don't think it's really in my nature to lose weight, like I can't really imagine my life at a normal weight, that's cool. That's not a problem. You know, just like either don't buy, diet books, don't buy nutrition books, don't listen to podcasts, don't do anything about weight loss and nutrition unless you want to change that belief first. Because if you want to change the belief, then like that kind of is the unavoidable step one, because it's kind of like, all of those books, all the podcasts, my podcast, my Instagram is for people that have an interest and a belief that, one day they will arrive at the weight they want to be. Like, if you don't have that belief, what is the point in doing anything? So, like I said, with getting a mortgage, it's like, surely you're getting a mortgage because you intend on buying a house, and you believe that there are loads of positives to buying a house. So if you catch yourself convincing yourself that, sure, maybe I am big boned. And do you remember all those comments growing up about how I was different to my sisters, or I had a big appetite, or do you remember all those diets that I did that everyone else in the class lost more weight and I didn't? Do and we're just building this like evidence base of why maybe I'm just not meant to be slimmer. And it's kind of like, yet again, if you want to build the evidence base that you won't be slimmer, cool. Just stop trying to be slimmer then. But if you do want to be slimmer, you got to get going on why, like I said, you're suited perfectly to it, and you're allowed want what you want. And now if you know what you want, if you know you genuinely do want to be slimmer, you have to stop talking yourself out of being able to be slimmer. You have to stop alienating yourself from slimmer people, kind of being like, oh, I could never be like that, or I could never be like that. Or, another one that's common is like, oh, I bet they're really shallow and into themselves. So like, there's all these little things that we're doing. Like, we're judging people and we're judging other people. Maybe you're even judging me. Because it's like a little form of self-protection. We get to like stay the same and justify where we are, but it's like, you don't need to justify where you are to anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, where you are is grand. And like I said, if you've struggled with your weight and it's been a hard time, my God, like, no one's blaming you for anyone, like for anything. I mean, like, having problems with eating is not great crack. It really, really isn't. And there's a lot of people who will never know what it's like to have disordered eating, or to be constantly thinking about what you ate yesterday and what you'll eat later. Like, it's no crack. So, you don't need to justify anything. You don't need to justify how difficult it is. And equally, if you want to move forward, it is a case of now lining up with your goal, seeing how you are the perfect candidate for becoming your ideal weight, and start like merging yourself with the behaviors of people who are a healthy weight, or identifying yourself in people who have a cool relationship with food and an ideal weight. I know those people sometimes can be unicorns. There's not many of them around, but there are some people out there who happen to be a healthy weight and they actually don't obsess about it. So that's another one that is really quite important. So this has all been word heavy. How are you doing? I'm delighted if you're still with me. What a monologue. I'm going to go for another one. I'm going to go for one last one, right? Oh, I like this one, okay? So, every time you eat, it's a one-off opportunity. So, like I said, when we have a weight problem, right, we're always thinking about what we've eaten so far today, what we ate yesterday, what we ate so far this week. Or we're thinking about, if I'm eating this, what does this mean for what I will eat later, and what I will eat tomorrow and next week and all the rest of it. And I suppose why that causes a weight problem on the basic level is that if we're always in the past and we're always in the future, and ultimately we're always just up in our head and up in our thoughts, we're never in our body. So we're missing all the cues and cries for help from our body. Like, our body might be saying to us, like, I am absolutely not enjoying this yogurt. I am finding zero taste or pleasure out of this. In fact, like, it's also maybe I actually rathered the feeling in my belly before I put that yogurt into it than after that yogurt. And there might be all these signals, from our body being like, okay, cool, you're full, that was lovely, you can stop now. But if we're in our head thinking about, was what I ate yesterday wrong? And like, should I be good tomorrow? We're never, ever being present. And so we're missing all of these cues and signals and signposts. And these little cues and these little signposts are the thing that would bring us to our optimum weight. So, this is studied now, like kids are the best example of it. So there's studies now to show that children under 4, they don't give a rashers what you think about food. They don't give a rashers what's written in nutrition books. They only know their own what feels good in their belly and their own taste and stuff like that. They also have no idea, or like kind of, they wouldn't really be thinking that like, I need to eat all of this now because there'll be no food tomorrow. Like they wouldn't really be telling themselves those stories. And because of that, it's the self-regulated kids that tend to go on to healthy weight adults, because the only information that matters to our weight is what is going on in our taste buds and in our belly. That is the only information that we will ever need. So obviously, if we're up in our head thinking about yesterday and tomorrow and will I and won't I and shouldn't I or whatever, we're missing a trick. We're missing all these little thousands of opportunities in the day that would get us to our ideal weight. So, geez, I've gone on a tangent again. Nope, it's not that one. It was in photos. Okay, so what I liked to do with this, right, is that like it can be quite the training to get ourselves out of the, because another way of saying it is, if we're always looking back, we get depressed. If we're always looking forward, we get overwhelmed. So we could be like, oh my God, if I haven't lost weight now, like, who am I kidding? I'll never lose weight. And that's quite depressing. Or we're looking forward and we're like, oh my God, I want to lose like 2 stone before that wedding in 2 months. And that's, really overwhelming. And, we want to like cut ourselves off. We want to like section off now this present moment from anything that has ever happened before it and anything that will ever happen again. So for me, what I used to tell myself is like, this is a one-off eating experience. This time that I'm eating right now has got nothing to do with my past. It's got nothing to do with my future. It's got nothing to do with my ability to lose weight. It's got nothing to do with who I am. It's just this unique opportunity to have a relationship with food that I want to have. So if I want to choose to like savor the feelings and the tastes of the food, if I want to be aware of how my belly is reacting to food, like, are they a good fit, my belly and this food, are they a good match? And like being really, really present with that. This is like its own one-off eating opportunity. I also kind of think this is a very compassionate way of looking at it, because if, whatever's going on, that like we absolutely are overeating and binge eating, like just see that as its own isolated event. If we binged, it was its own cause and effect. The effect was the binge. There was some cause that happened. So we don't have to freak ourselves out being like, this is always going to be me, because we can highlight those causes. We can avoid those causes. Like sometimes the biggest cause of our overeating or binging is just one negative repetitive thought that, again, I think the classic is, who am I kidding? I'll never lose weight. I'm a fat blob anyways. So something like that will always drive our overeating. So, maybe that was the cause and maybe the binge was the effect. And, hey ho, that evil thought, it caught us again for the 4th millionth time. But that was its own isolated experience. That doesn't have to ever happen again. We don't ever have to react in the exact same way. It doesn't have to have any bearing on the weight we're becoming. So I think that is quite helpful to separate every time we eat as its own individual experience. So yeah, oh my God. Well, it's tough to kind of like have the crack and be having the laugh when I'm on my own here. But I hope that was kind of helpful, and I hope it gave you an insight, like, maybe we're going through the same thing, maybe kind of my relationship with food and my binge eating disorder and bulimia and stuff, and the crazy non-stop thoughts that were going on in my head were maybe a little bit similar to yours. So I hope you found some of that helpful, and I will be on another episode, please God. And thank you so much for listening. And if you're not following me on Instagram, like I said, my handle is @happyweight.ie. I also have a newsletter whenever I get around to it. And that's on my website, happyweight.ie. And what else do I have? I have YouTube videos and I have an online course. So if you want any more support from me, there is tons there, both free and paid. So, okay, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day. Mwah.